Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ankit Sabinkar. We are going to learn Python and we will try to understand how Python is related to data science, and we'll try to cover each and every topic that with respect to data science. We'll cover all the topics like data structures, conditional statements, control structures, object-oriented programming in Python, constructors, file systems, probably everything that related to data science. We'll also see object oriented, like how to create classes and objects, etc. Before getting there, first we should try to understand what Python is and why we should go for Python. Initially it was R, but R is I could say R is nowhere in comparison with Python now. It is in the second position, so Python has taken the first place, but initially it was the other way around. Before getting into that, but we should try to understand what Python is. Why should we learn Python? So this is a topic for today. But what is Python? Yeah, we know that it's a programming language, but doesn't answer the question. The thing is, like how Python is taking away the market, why it is so famous now, why it is widely being used. So Python is, we all know that it's a high level language. When I say high level language, basically it is easy to learn and understand, and when you execute the program, however it is slower than the low level language, but you don't require much of an assembly language kind of coding to write a high level language. You also don't require any knowledge of hardware when you deal with high level language, and these programs are easy to modify, or if you want to change any make any changes or modifications in the future, yes, it is very much easy in high level language compared to low level language. A few examples of high level languages are like C, COBOL, Perl, etc. There's also some Ruby will also come under high level language. Python is also an interpreted language. Interpreted in the sense, in other languages you'll have a compiler. Like for example, if you take C, you'll have a compiler and then an execution phase. But here in Python you don't have anything called compiler. The moment you run the code, or it will just throw away the output. If there are any errors, it will show you the errors. That means it is executed at the runtime. There's nothing called compilation phase in Python. It will directly interpret the program and then give you the output. So you will have only a phase called runtime phase. That is why it is called an interpreted language. Python is an interactive language. You can also this directly interacts with you. There's a prompt. It will directly show you the output on the console. That is why it is called interactive. Yes, Python supports object oriented, like we will see in our tutorials in the later part. We'll have videos how Python supports object oriented by creating classes and then objects, how it encapsulates the data objects. So let's move it. So now we understand what Python is. The next thing is, why Python? Yeah, this should be our next question. Why don't we have any other languages? Yeah, we used to have R. It is still there in the market. Is one of the good languages if you have some data in a huge volumes. But Python, I say, it is equally competing with R, or maybe Python has overtaken R, I would say. So the main reason is, each and every application that we are coming up in the market has somewhere or the other related to Python, or mostly it is being written in Python. In terms of machine learning, Python has corpus of libraries available in the market. When I say library, it's like functionality available in the library. We'll see what libraries and what functions inside the libraries. Why do we need a library to in Python? We'll see that when we come there. So it is widely used in web applications to machine learning. Availability of various libraries, like I said. The main reason why Python has become so famous is because of the huge community of developers. Like developers across the world are solving the problems, and they're creating a library and they're deploying that library. Though in a way, I'll just narrate an example. Let's say if you are building a cycle, and if one person has written a code how to design a wheel, so you'll just import his library and you're done with the wheel. Only you're left with to design the cycle. So that way, each and every piece of the problem, like if you have some problem and there's no library available, you can also solve the problem, write a library, and you can also publish that library. So the main important thing why Python has become more famous is it's because of open source. You can access its source and you can modify according to your requirements, and you're done. And the next question, and the companies that are using Python are Google. Among there are many companies. The top companies would be Google, Netflix, Instagram, Quora. Quora is completely written in using only open source. That's one of the beautiful application I have seen. Dropbox, Reddit, and there's also an e-commerce site called Shopify. Even that company is also using Python. So the competitor would be R. So we'll try to understand the differences between Python and R. Python is comparatively easy to learn, I would say, because it's basically kind of English. So when you go through the code also, it is really understandable. Even if you're not a programmer before, you can still understand because it's easily written. It's kind of written in English. R, comparatively it's a bit difficult, but again, when you practice, it's not much difficult is what because I know R and I have seen the differences, and I don't see much R is not that difficult. But when you compare with again Python, Python would still rank at the first. In terms of developers, Python has huge community of developers across the world, and R has not that much. One problem what I have observed is when I deal huge data sets and I'm doing some numerical ability, I want to do some statistical analysis on a huge data set. Python is not really that fast, but when it comes to R, I have seen tremendous performance in R. In terms of front-end tools like editors, we have Spider, Jupyter, and PyCharm to run to write your code in Python. When it comes to R, you have only RStudio and RGUI. It is really tough, and sometimes it's irritating to write code in RGUI because of it very much looks like command line execution. That's one of the problem that I have faced, and it's very difficult to run. To come out of that problem, there's an editor called RStudio, which is again open source. But again, there's also an enterprise edition where companies use for RStudio. This is again a good editor where you can run your R programs. Like I said again, there are huge availability of libraries across the world, and there are many coming up day by day. Compared to Python, it's very less. I don't even think there's sometimes 10,000 libraries in R roughly when I'm doing this video, and this has some 1 lakh plus libraries. And this Python, one of the main advantages of Python is you can do web applications. You can use for DevOps, you can use for cloud computing, you can also design. There's a Flask and Django web frameworks using Python. R is mostly used as statistical analysis and machine learning. It has not much huge coverage area like Python. So this is all about Python. So why do we need Python? This is the evolving language. If you want to become a developer and get a good hike in your current company, or want to make a career change, yes, Python is going to rule the world in one or the other day. The whole idea of this is if you're thinking of coming into data science, yes, Python is going to play a key role, I would say. All other things are about only machine learning libraries, algorithms, and you need to understand the math behind it. But when you play around with the data, when you want to filter the data, when you do some exploratory data analysis, Python is must. So let's jump into it and start learning. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you liked my video. This is my very initial video, so you might be facing some problems, but this is very initial videos, and I hope I'll fix it soon. Please subscribe and like and share, and I will come up with every video on every Wednesday and Friday. Thank you very much.